Only a few economies in the world are currently in recession. However, that's not stopped people from worrying about.
With the world changing every day with more negative news, financial expert, best-selling author and investor banker turned economist Jim Rickards has come with a terrible warning. Jim believes that we are in the midst of a collapsing global economy. Yes, you heard it right. Let us understand why Jim gave such a mind-boggling statement and what are the possible scenarios for the next monetary collapse. 1. Consumer frustration. In his recent book titled Sold Out: How Broken Supply Chains, Surging Inflation and Political Instability Will Sink the Global Economy, Jim revealed that consumer disappointment is one of the top reasons that is leading to the global economic collapse. The book explores the fractured supply chain and product shortages that are affecting consumers' interests negatively. A recent report stated about how 82% of consumers easily get affected by the increasing waiting line in retail stores in the midst of rising customer impatience. The findings from the report, Wait Whiles: The State of Waiting in Line 2023, said that people in the US spend approximately 37 billion hours each year waiting in line in stores. The 2023 survey found out how consumers related to negative feelings of annoyance, frustration, and boredom while waiting in line. Thus, it indicated American customers' growing impatience waiting in line at retail stores, which was obviously more compared to the combined time spent in restaurants, pharmacies, doctors, offices, and banks. To top it up, the inaction by the brands on the matter is no longer acceptable to consumers. In the last year, when Americans started visiting brick-and-mortar stores excitedly to shop back after the pandemic times, their service expectations were clearly unmet. In fact, customer loyalty has been majorly affected in a wrong manner due to businesses that are failing to create a meaningful connection with their customers. Operational inefficiencies and the inability to streamline customer flows and implement technology in the right manner have been the root causes of providing positive in-person experiences to customers. Jim Rickards, as well, has pointed out in his book how consumer frustration is only the tip of a huge menacing iceberg that poses threats to the next monetary collapse. For the unversed, 71-year-old Jim Rickards has served as an advisor to the US Department of Defense, US intelligence community, and major hedge funds on global financial matters during his time. He's also worked as a facilitator of the first ever financial war games held by the Pentagon. He has authored 7 books on matters of finance and precious metals and offers foolproof advice on maintaining wealth. He has been around since the times when the world witnessed several financial crises and economic downturns in the past. With each pressing day, it looks like the worldwide phenomenon of the financial crisis will stay for a long time. Banks are collapsing, inflation is skyrocketing, people, not just in the US but all over the world, are finding it hard to pay their utility bills, and there is an increasing chaos and confusion emerging with regard to monetary policies like never before. I've lived through all of these and more or less been directly involved in all of them, and this is orders of magnitude greater in terms of what's being bailed out, said Jim Rickards, a veteran of Wall Street with 35 years of experience holding senior positions at some of the world's largest financial service institutions, including Citibank, Long-Term Capital Management, and Caxton Associates. So what is the next thing that can add more fuel to the existing fire? Expert on geopolitical matters Jim Rickards has shed light on the second most important factor for the next monetary collapse, and that is none other than you, the taxpayer. 2. Taxpayers in tears. Yes, if anyone suffers the most when the global economy gets affected in any manner, then it's none other than you, the taxpayer. Some, or the other way, businesses will go through a huge transition, thus footing the bill for their end products. The Russia-Ukraine war, rising inflation, and energy crisis will go out of control, and there is a big possibility for banks to fail left and right. On top of that, taxpayers will face unintended consequences as they will be imposed by the government with new laws which will cost them billions every passing year. There are higher chances of tax penalties with new rules and regulations that will be imposed on any taxpayer, opined Jim. At present, the leadership in the US is suffering due to a total lack of skill, believes Jim. Jim also raises concerns about how the future will show us some harsh facts wherein the dollar will no longer remain the global reserve currency and a new supply chain will be set to be designed. He also believes that the US is edging nearer to transforming into a cashless economy. Jim also points out how each financial crisis will get worse than the earlier one, and with the sort of events happening, the economic conditions will reach a point where the monetary collapse is a sure thing to happen as FED has no control over it. Afraid of Jim's warnings? Well, New York Times bestselling author Jim Rickards always shares a dose of insight in his concerns that can be used to our favor in real life. He has a huge catalogue of successful and well-written books, such as The New Great Depression, The Road to Ruin, The Death of Money, and Currency Wars. It's not that Jim's career has been easy breezy, and he's sharing only bookish knowledge. In fact, Jim has had his fair share of chaotic incidents. For instance, in 1998, he was a principal negotiator with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York for the $4 billion bailout of Long-Term Capital Management, LTCM. It was a noteworthy crisis that appeared within a few hours of closing every key securities exchange in the globe. Isn't that amazing of an experienced person sharing his wisdom for the benefit of society? Jim takes those harsh experiences and exceptional vantage points to discuss how the global economy stands today and what the loopholes in the existing system are that evidently appear. Jim also fearlessly points out how the conventional economic models are wrong and how SDR money will become the new global currency in the future. He also predicts how the IMF will be bailing out the FED during its next crisis. As per my understanding, if we want to stay ahead of the game and walk with the changing world, then we should stand up for what is right, speak our reality, and share financial ideas with each other. Here we have Jim Rickards, who believes that every challenging time can be converted into a transformational one if there is justified action and positive leadership. Jim has also served as a guest lecturer for globalization and finance subjects at the School of Advanced International Studies at Johns Hopkins University, Georgetown University, Trinity College Dublin, the US Army War College, and the National Defense University. If you have become a fan of Jim Rickards after learning more about him, then let us tell you that you can explore reading his insights and observations that are published regularly in some of the greatest publications in the world. You can also keep a tab on the financial newsletter Strategic Intelligence, which is recommended for anyone who wants to have a fair share of knowledge on what is really happening in the world economy. Let us go back to the past to give you some key facts on the global financial crisis. The world faced a financial crisis in 1998 and then a severe one in 2007-2008. The 2008-2008 financial crisis, which is also called the Global Financial Crisis, GFC, is said to be the first one that occurred in the 21st century, thus shocking economies all across the globe. It was considered to be the most sensational financial crisis since the Great Depression, 1929. The crisis was categorized by increased risk-taking by financial institutions globally, predatory lending that targeted low-income home buyers, and the collapse in value of the mortgage-backed securities linked to American real estate. Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy in September 2008, and several other financial institutions all across the world suffered huge damage, thus leading to a global banking crisis. Although the economic crisis started in the US but spread to the rest of the world within a few years. Jim Rickards predicts that the next monetary collapse will be a huge blow to the entire world, creating a perfect storm. No wonder this quote by Jim Rickards mentioned on his Wikipedia page really needs a mention. Climate change is being used as a stalking horse by global elites to push an agenda of global taxation and global governance. What do you think? Do you believe Jim Rickards' claims and findings on the even bigger crisis predicted in the coming years? Or do you think that it is all a political agenda to misuse the existing funds and declare the Great Recession? Share your honest reviews and feedback in the comments section. If you really like watching this video, then click like and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more such business and financial updates and get a hang of what is actually happening in the real world out there.